Hold on one second. I got both of us on here. We were talking and I wasn't paying attention. Hey, guys, welcome to Myrtle Beach Living Live. I'm Todd Cartner, your host. And if it's Wednesday, it's Myrtle Beach Living, and we're right here on your favorite social media network. And if you guys have any questions whatsoever, you can type them in the comments below, and we'll get them on air. Or if you want to call in, you can call us at 843-246-7474. And I am so excited today. I have one of my friends in the live streaming industry, and her name is Kelsey Bentz, and she is in New York City. And we're going to get her on here and chat with Kelsey. Let's see if we can get her on here right now. How's that? There you go.
Hey. Hi, Todd. Thanks for having me on.
See what happens when you talk right up to the last second. I wasn't even paying attention.
I know. It's all good.
Sorry about that. I already see we have a couple comments in here, and imagine who this is.
Oh, Dana, my beloved sister.
She says she's so excited for this episode. She's woo-hooing it, and then she also says that you look great, which you always do.
Thank you so much.
She never compliments me, though. I don't know. It's an old bald guy that looks like Dr. Phil. I don't know. But Kelsey, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to get into what you do here in just a moment. But tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your family. Obviously, we already know Dana and your awesome mom that I see on your show every once in a while. So tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Portland, Oregon, West Coast. I grew up there, and the majority of my immediate family is there. My extended family is in Canada and Denmark, so that's sort of my heritage. But my closest immediate family is in Portland, and that's where I spent my childhood until 5 years ago when I moved to New York.
Yeah, and you moved to New York for college, so we'll talk about that in a moment. But you started in theater, and some of you guys that are watching may be wondering why in the world I would have somebody that's a theater person, an actress that is on here, a dancer, of course, and someone from New York on a show that's called Myrtle Beach Living. Well, the reason that I had her on is because if you guys are any way, shape, or form into theater, we have some of the best performances here at our local high schools. Carolina Forest, I'm going to mention that. They did an amazing show of Cats several years ago, which I absolutely loved. I've seen it on Broadway. I've seen Cats in off Broadway several times, and I would put them up against any of them. And then our another high school here, Socastee High School, does amazing. They did Little Shop of Horrors, and things like that. But there's a lot of viewers who either are in the musical business and the theater business, or their parents are. So students are, or whatever. So I thought it would be a great idea to bring you on and tell some of the possibilities. So you started I'm getting off on a tangent. You're starting in theater in Portland. So tell us about that and what kind of what parts were you involved in? The acting, behind the scenes, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I really didn't get heavily into theater until middle school. I started just as a singer, really. I loved to sing. Since my mom tells this story, like when I was 8 months old, I couldn't even speak yet, but I was humming melodies like in my crib. So that was really what I was drawn to first was song. But in my childhood, I played sports, and that was fun. I was athletic, but it never really felt quite right. And then in middle school, I just decided to trying out for the play. And like realizing that I could combine my love of singing with acting and dancing all at the same time. And it was so challenging. That was it for me. So going into high school, I knew like, this is my thing. And that's what I want to pursue. I knew it pretty early on. So I started with singing, like I said, and I was taking voice lessons pretty young. And then once I got into theater more heavily, I decided like, okay, I should probably take some dance lessons and some acting lessons. So I started doing that as well.
That's awesome. I see Ross is on here. Hey, Ross. Ross does
his own. Hey, Ross. Thanks for tuning in.
Look, he's even speaking to Dana through us. What in the world? Thanks for joining us, Ross. We appreciate that. And Kelsey, it's funny because in speaking to Dana when she was on the show a few weeks ago, we talked about the similarities, how she used to be in real estate, which I am now, and then she went into marketing, which I used to be in. So that's kind of funny. But you and I have some ties too, because one of my favorite musicals that I played in was Schroeder and You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. We even built a miniature 2-scale piano, baby grand, and that was one of the things I did. So that was really, really cool.
That's amazing.
So, but anyway, so you did musicals, plays. I even hear you did puppetry. I retired from the fire department, and we had a huge puppet we did.
Oh my gosh.
But then you're also into competitive dance, which is pretty cool. What is some of the favorite roles that you've been in any of those categories?
Oh my gosh. A couple come to mind. My brief stint in puppetry was actually for a role that I was doing in a musical in Portland. So I was playing the role of Lucy in this musical called Avenue Q. And so we basically, the show, it's a puppet show, but like where the actors sing and talk the role, but then, you know, we do it with the puppet on our arm. So I learned some puppetry techniques doing that, and it was really fun. So that was definitely a highlight. And then in my senior year of high school, we did a musical called Anything Goes, which is just this big, you know, tap dance musical. It's like the storyline's super loose, and it's just about like conflict and love, and it's silly, and there's just like amazing costumes and dance numbers, and it's just big. And I was fortunate to play the lead role in that, Reno Sweeney. So that was super fun because the department really went all out, and they built like this huge set for us, and the costumes were tailor-made, and it was super fun. So that's definitely one of my favorites in the books.
Yeah, that's a big show. That's a lot of if I remember correctly, because it's been a minute since I've seen it, but there's a lot of costume changes in that one too, aren't there?
I think I had 9 costume changes. Yeah. It was crazy.
That's when you have to put your pride aside, because you have to change quickly. It doesn't matter who's watching.
Oh my gosh. And you need all the help you can get backstage too. You know what I mean? Like there's no way you're doing that by yourself.
That's crazy. Going back to the fire department with one of our puppets, we had a dragon and it actually breathed fire and smoke at a puppet. It was really, really cool. And I actually went, there was a lady, and oh my goodness, her name escapes me, but I took a class in Laughlin, Nevada, is where the conference was, out of nowhere. But she worked with the Muppet Show, and she actually built and created several of the Muppets, and she taught us how to do them as well. So it was a very interesting class. It was very fun. I still have mine that I use there that we built, and it was really cool. So
that's so cool.
So speaking of all this acting, I know that you're pretty darn good, because you've been nominated for a couple of Best Supporting Actress nominations, and you also won an award for the Best Actress in a Musical, right?
I did. Yes. Back in Portland, I did about a year of professional theater in Portland before I moved to New York. And my grandma's tuning in too. Hey, Grandma. Before I moved to New York, I did a year of professional shows, and then I also would return home for summers, and if I could book a show in Portland during the summer off of school from in New York, I would go back and do it. So yeah, I was fortunate to be nominated, and I actually won a couple summers ago. I won the Best Actress Award for the musical that I did, Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which was an amazing production, and it was super fun. I got to play a sort of a drag queen that wanted to be a drag queen, but was forced to like not be. So I was playing a man and I was in male drag. And then at the end of the show, spoiler alert, but he comes back as, you know, the drag queen that he always wanted to be. So
I haven't heard of that show. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So let's take a step backwards. You went to a school in New York City that is a school of the arts. Tell us about that. And you got your degree in it.
I did.
And what are you doing now? I guess we kind of skipped over some of that.
Sure. Yeah. So I went to New York University, NYU Tisch School of the Arts, and I was an acting major, which was really my dream school. I mean, I never imagined myself going there, but NYU was like the one college I knew of growing up, and I was just like, oh, imagine, if I went to NYU for acting, but that's a crazy dream. But I ended up just applying, and I worked really hard on my auditions, and I ended up getting in. And I originally applied to be a musical theater major, but I was placed in the acting major category, which was really outside of my comfort zone at the time. At the time, I was really only drawn to musical productions because I just wanted to sing. But they placed me in the acting program, which was really uncomfortable for me at first, but I'm really glad that I went for it and committed to doing it. Because I feel just like it was a great education. So that's what brought me to New York. And I just graduated in May with my Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Acting, which is kind of a weird time, because it's right into the pandemic. So it's been an interesting journey from graduation to now. I'll definitely say that. I mean, my path has definitely changed a bit just because of, the current situation.
Yeah. And a lot of us has changed, and and some for the good. I think some it's been for the good. So you have to look outside of it too. So one of my good friends, and she just graduated high school this past year as well, but she just moved to New York to go to the School of the Arts. And McKenna Hatcher, I'm going to say, hey, shout out to you.
Hey, McKenna. That's so great.
So hopefully she is, but she is really, really good. They did a couple performances over the last few years that I've watched her in, and to see her grow and mature into acting, dance, and singing as well has been awesome, and that's pretty cool. So I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and then when we come back, I want to talk about your show, kind of how you and I got to know each other, and we're going to dive into some of that here shortly. So let's take a break now, and stay tuned after this. If you guys have any questions for Kelsey or myself, please let me know, and we'll get them on there just after the break. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Every client is unique and has different needs. Whether it's a growing family, a first-time buyer, an investor, or someone looking to downsize, I am here to help guide them through the process. My name is Todd Cartner. I am a realtor with Exit Coastal Real Estate Pros. I serve Myrtle Beach and the surrounding area, and there is no place I would rather have my family call home. You need a realtor you can trust and will put your needs first. I want to become your lifetime realtor. If you are looking to buy or sell real estate, please give me a call. I look forward to speaking with you soon.
All right, guys, welcome back to Myrtle Beach Living Live. I'm with my good friend, Kelsey Bentz, who is from New York City, and she has a show called Avenue A that we're going to get into in a moment. Mm-hmm. And Dana put a comment on here that the commercial break is her favorite part. I don't know that Dana to listen to us, and she just wants to watch the commercials or what. Thanks, Dana. I appreciate the comment. So we talked a little bit, Kelsey, about what I had done as far as being Schroeder and your good man, Charlie Brown. Mm-hmm. But there's another one that I did years and years ago that I actually directed that was called The Living Dramatization of the Last Supper. And we did it at the church that I went to, and we presented it, and it was a good old Southern Baptist church, but we presented the show, and our drama teacher actually came and helped do the backstage part and all that stuff. But you would not believe how people get into it. All of the guys, the Last Supper has all the disciples, mm-hmm. and Jesus, all of the guys, depending on which part they played, they either grew a beard, shaved their beard, whatever it was, they looked just like the painting. and it was amazing at how much they got into that character. And I'm an old man now. I'm 52, and that was back when I was like 18, maybe 17.
Wow.
I directed it, but the way that they just got into it, I wish we had a video of that performance. We had scheduled it for one night. We were going to do one performance, and it ended up selling out, and we did 4 performances.
Wow.
Nights in a row, and those guys just did amazing. It is interesting at how supporting the arts are. I've even witnessed it, and I'm sure you have many times, that where somebody would come up and say, "Hey, Kelsey, you're doing this. I'm thinking if you did this, it would really make that scene so much better." And not doing it in a demeaning way by any means. They're trying to be supportive and make you grow within yourself. And that's the thing I like about the art so much. It is really, really cool. So let's dive into now how you and I met. Our show here is run on a platform called StreamYard, and I absolutely love it. You know I love it. You see me on a lot. I'm on several of your shows. I'm on the StreamYard weekly broadcast that Dan and Gage do, that were the founders. And I haven't made it over to Dana's 2 Bits Tuesday. Is that what it's called?
2 Cents with Bentz.
2 Cents with Bentz. I was close.
Yes.
I haven't made it to that one yet. I have watched some of the replays, but I haven't watched it live yet. But I'll get on there, Dana, I promise you. Dana and Kelsey, now, do you work for StreamYard too, or you just help Dana?
I do, full time.
So you're full time with StreamYard.
I am.
So Dana is the marketing director, and you're in the marketing department, I guess.
I work in customer success, so I'm really mostly in the tech support and doing emails and like really working with customer relations.
So how did you get involved with them? Was it through Dana? Because I think Dana went to high school with one of the guys, right?
It was, yes, exactly. You're exactly right. So Dana went to high school with Gage, one of the founders, and so that's how they knew each other. And so she got involved with StreamYard before I did, and before I even knew about it. But through her and just watching her, just really enjoy working at the company, and just she was having so much fun, and it just seemed like an amazing opportunity. So I applied and I got the job, and I've been working there for about 9 months now.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your show, Avenue A. I've watched it a couple of times, and I think it's really, really cool. So just tell us about what it is and what made you get into starting that show.
Sure. Yeah. So Avenue A was really the product of the pandemic and my personal sort of artistic position coming out of school, because, like I mentioned earlier, I definitely had a different vision for what the months following my graduation from NYU would look like. So in the first couple of months of the quarantine, I was just thinking, like, how can I stay engaged with my artistic community, and because there's nothing else going on. So what can I, create for myself? So there was sort of a couple months of me just being frustrated and feeling disconnected. And so that's where the idea for Avenue A came about. In conjunction with working at StreamYard, I was getting to know this amazing virtual platform that can multi-stream. And I was really getting excited about it and getting to know it, working with it so much. And I just thought, what if I, created a live stream show that's accessible to everyone on the social media platforms, and just sort of brought on guests to talk about acting and the industry and learn from other people who are also artists, going through this current moment. So that's how it kind of started. And we're into season 2 now. Season 1 closed with 20 episodes, each with an amazing set of guests. I was so blessed that people were willing to come on the show, because that's what I was worried about. It's just like, are people going to even care to come on and talk to me about these topics? But we had a really, really generous set of guests, and now I'm on season 2, episode 3, I believe, this week.
Yeah, that's right. And now, some of these guests that you had on are local to New York, that are on Broadway guests, I guess. But some of them have been on the big screen and maybe a little more famous, should we say?
Yeah.
So how do you go about getting those guests? I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So It's always it's a learning curve, like learning how to connect with people. I guess it really is. The show is about networking. It's acting, networking, and the industry. That's sort of my three topics, and through having a show about networking, I find myself learning a lot about networking and doing a lot of networking. So really, there's no like specific technique that I have except for just reaching out to people. I kind of gained a pretty big network just from being at NYU and being in that community here in New York. So there are several contacts that I was able to reach out to just because, I'd worked with them before, or I had, a mutual friend or something like that. But I just do a lot of reaching out to people and literally asking them if they'd be willing. And then sometimes, I'll have a guest on who's excited about the show, and they'll offer the contact info for someone they know who they think would be interested. And sometimes, if I feel like the moment is right, I'll ask someone, oh, hey, like, would you know of anyone who you think would be excited to come on the show? And then sometimes, they're like, oh yeah, I think I have this friend. So it kind of goes like that. And, that's just how I book them. Yeah.
Well, and we're running pretty much neck and neck because I didn't do a season like you did, but you had 20 episodes in the first season. You got episode 3 coming up this Friday.
Yeah.
And we are on episode 23. So we're pretty much neck and neck there, which is kind of cool. I know that we've got a little bit of time here that we need to wrap it up, but I do want to ask you one question. If you could play any role in any musical, on TV, in any play or whatever, what would that one role be?
Okay, so there is a TV show that I'm currently obsessed with. It's called Imposters, and I think they only have like 2 seasons, so I've already watched the whole thing. But the main character, she is just incredible. She plays a bunch of different people because she's an imposter basically. So she becomes different people in order to like scam others. That's sort of the premise of the show. But the acting in it is so amazing because she has to fully embody like 7 different characters throughout the course of the show. And she's so good at it. So something like that is really a dream role for me, like such an acting challenge to be playing a character who has to play other people. Like the complexity to that is just amazing.
That would be because you're challenging yourself a lot, and a lot of performances, regardless if it's on the big screen, on Broadway, in a high school, a lot of them really depend on the director and how they envision the project coming together. Right. And have you ever had any aspirations of being a director?
I've thought about it, but maybe in the future, I think that would be fun. But for right now, like I'm much more interested in being on the stage and being on screen. So I think for looking into the future, teaching and directing are things that, I think would be fun, but probably a few years in the future.
Sure. Well, the good news is that you got plenty of time to do it because you're awful young. So, so anyway, guys, let's say Avenue A is on Facebook. It's on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube.
We are not on LinkedIn yet, but we are on Facebook and YouTube as the main sites. Yes.
Gotcha. And you air every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I encourage you guys to tune in there, see how these actors and actresses have taken their journey into the entertainment field, and get to know Kelsey a little bit better. And Kelsey, thank you so much for joining us. And if you will just hang around for a moment after the show, and we'll get going. But guys, next week we'll be having another friend of Kelsey's on. It's Mr. Dylan Shinholzer.
Dylan!
I know, yeah. Dylan's going to be on next week, and he talks about how you can monetize your live streams. And that's some things that we're going to talk about next week. So that'll be good. And we'll get Dylan on here next Wednesday, live right here on Myrtle Beach Living. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.
Hey.